It's time for Howlers and Growlers. A weekly show from our Arizona Coyotes writing pack, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, prospects, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything ice hockey in the hot desert. So sit back, grab your favorite cold beverage, and get ready for Howlers and Growlers.
Welcome to Howlers and Growlers. I'm your host, Pat Brown, and we are thrilled to have you join our inaugural show. We're so excited to get this off the ground. Thank you for taking the time to spend it with us and joining us today on our first show. My Coyotes colleague at the Hockey Writers, Haynes Evans. Haynes, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to get going with episode 1 of Howlers and Growlers. I hope you're doing well yourself, Pat, and I hope everybody else is doing well tonight.
Doing great. Glad to have you on. Excited to get this off the ground. And also joining us, proud THW writer, Sabres reporter, and co-host on Sabres Scoop, Jordan Jacklin. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm doing very great, Patrick. I'm excited to be your first ever guest, and I've been howling at the chance to talk to you guys tonight.
Oh, it starts already. I love it. We've got a lot to talk about today, but first, gentlemen, priorities. The spirit of this show is to be laid back, almost like a happy hour feeling, and enjoy a beverage of your choice as we talk Coyotes hockey. So to start, I'm going to plug mine. I got a little Four Peaks Hazy IPA. It's legit, and highly recommend. Haynes, what are you drinking today?
I'm repping over here on the East Coast in South Carolina, so I took a little spin back to my home away from home, back where I went to school in Charleston. I have an Edmonds Oast sour black raspberry sour, so I'm representing Charleston tonight.
That sounds delicious. I'm not going to lie. Jordan, what about you?
I'll be honest, guys. I'm just drinking a bubbly tonight, cherry flavored though. But I'm a huge sparkling water guy, so that's what I love to drink usually every day.
Then on that note, and I'm not getting paid for this endorsement, but if you don't have a Soda Stream, you should invest in one because it is one of the greatest things that I've ever got. My wife got me for my birthday or something, and one of the greatest things ever. So I highly recommend. But we're not here to talk drinks. We're just here to enjoy some as we talk Coyotes hockey. So let's talk. We're going to kick it off today with rookie camp and the rookie Faceoff tournament that was held here in Arizona. I had the opportunity to go to both, so I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to talk about who impressed the most during those both of those events. In my opinion, and I'll take the low-hanging fruit first. Obviously, Dylan Guenther. Right, on fire, came out, scored 3 goals in the first 2 games of that face-off tournament, doing everything that a 9th overall draft pick should do. Folks were really excited to see him. He put on a good performance, and you can just tell he loves to play hockey. He loves to shoot the puck, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Some other folks that caught my attention, British sensation Liam Kirk. Just fun to watch. Great guy. He's out there making plays happen. He hit a couple of posts, had a few breakaways, just out there with a lot of energy and really leading by example because he'd done a lot coming into these tournaments and into these weeks. Obviously, he had a stellar performance in the Worlds for England and just a lot of fun to watch. And, a couple of other players, Ty Emberson was solid, really picked it up. I think he's coming in out of University of Wisconsin. He was a captain at Wisconsin and bringing in a really leadership type mentality to some of these other kids who are experiencing a lot of this for the first time. And then I'm going to kind of wrap up my thoughts with someone who wasn't at the rookie tournament, but was at development camp and was fun to watch is Josh Doan. Ladies and gentlemen. I know he went maybe a little bit earlier than people had anticipated, but there may be a little bit of homerisms in there too. Was actually excited to actually saw Shane today at Media Day, and obviously proud Papa and everything else. And just really excited to see him out there. He's going to be at ASU, so we'll be covering him throughout the year as well. But we didn't get to see him in the rookie face-off tournament because, true story, he had to go to class. So he wasn't on those rosters, but still a lot of fun to watch, and keep your eye on him because he's been fun to watch. So Haynes, we'll swing it over to you first. Your thoughts on the rookie development camp and the rookie face-off tournament that was held here in Arizona.
You kind of, you hit the nail there. I think you kind of tackled everywhere. I mean, Dylan Guenther, first off, kid has an NHL ready shot. I mean, we saw the goal against Vegas, the bottle popper. Yeah. This kid can shoot the puck. He can move the puck. He's smart with the puck. He knows where to be. He knows how to make plays. I mean, he screams NHL ready from the get-go. And the fact that he fell to us at 9 was just an absolute crime, but such a blessing for Coyotes fans for him to fall where he did. And, and he's just, I mean, since coming here, he's shown it that he's everything the Coyotes wanted and really looks to be that guy the Coyotes have been dying to get for forever. I mean, you can think back on all the, big first round busts we've had, Dylan Strome, Henrik Samuelsson, Max Domi. I mean, you can look back at some of those guys and it never really panned out, but Dylan Guenther, I mean, that shot is lethal. I am excited to see him when it's time for him when that team finally gets to that rebound. I am excited to see him play. Yeah. McCartney also really stood out to me and the thing. He looked really good moving the puck. He was smart. He was making good plays. He was definitely someone that kind of caught my eye in the tournament. And then one more person you had mentioned with Ty Emerson, Cameron Crotty was also really good in the rookie tournament. He was praised a lot actually by the coaching staff for his smart playmaking. So I mean, tops to him coming in, one of those veteran kind of guys coming into that rookie prospect tournament. And I mean, he received high praise and he deserved it. He was really good. He moved the puck well. And, there weren't many negative spots from this team in the rookie tournament, but I mean, just overall, they looked really good. And I mean, we also have such a bright future to look forward to.
Yeah. And Haynes, great call out there. Potvin, who was kind of behind the net, actually called out both Ty and Cam specifically about leaders and how they handled camp. So great call out with Cam Crotty. Jordan, bring us home, especially kind of an outsider perspective looking in on what you've seen here in the desert. What impressed you about the past couple of weeks?
Well, I'm a big prospects guy, Patrick. So Dylan Guenther is a guy I've been watching for quite a while now. I mean, he was fifth. He was in the 5 to 8 range on various mock drafts. I was just as surprised as you two were in terms of him going 9th overall. In terms of this rookie tournament, he really gained the trust of Tucson's assistant coach, John Slaney, saying, he really trusts he's got good poise. He's got great vision. Not only does he have that shot, but he gets into the position, which a natural goal scorer does. He knows, and he can fire it really in any area of the offensive zone. It doesn't just have to be a one-timer. He can go in this offside and just rip a wrist shot, top shelf. He can do it in all the areas. And Liam Kirk, man, I remember when Liam Kirk was drafted, I never thought he would even really get to this point where
nobody did really.
Like the fact that he's been able to be this good already, I think he's going to make it to the NHL one day. And I mean, he looked pretty good there. I know he played alongside Reese Vitelli for a few games, and they had that little rotation there with McSally and McCartney. And I know McCartney was a pretty good player there too. And as I agree with you guys too, I know John Slaney also said Ty Emberson and Cameron Crotty were standout players for him as well. I really liked what they did there in defensive roles, and they took leadership roles there too. This wasn't their first camp, so I really liked what those guys did in development camp, and I think the Coyotes prospect pool really is starting to look brighter.
Jordan, picking your brain since you are a prospects guy, Guenther slipping down to 9 when the Coyotes snagged him this last entry draft. Was that surprising to you? Where did you have him on your board?
And my board, I would say he was more so like, I would have had him more in the 6 to 8 range specifically. I didn't actually do a full-on mock. I think this year I'm going to do a full-on mock draft, but last year I was really just more so just getting into it. I didn't do too much research, but in terms of Guenther, I did have him going higher. I did not think he would slip the 9, so I was pretty surprised about that.
Gotcha. So let's switch gears really quick and let's talk goaltending, because let's be honest for a minute. It's not like there's any goaltending studs in the pipeline right now. Nobody who you expect necessarily to step up and be that guy. But let me tell you, one of the games I was able to go to, and he even pronounced his name for me, and I still won't get it right. But Karel Vejmelka. And that's what I'm going with. That's my final answer for now until he corrects me. But he played so well in that rookie faceoff tournament against the Kings. Came on multiple stops against the likes of Byfield, Turcotte, just really stepping up and helping kill off a 4-minute power play early on in the game. And you don't hear a whole lot about him, but I'll tell you, he really stepped up. He played good. And fun little note, he actually conducted his first ever interview in English right after following the game and did a really good job. So I can't even imagine what that must have been like. But he was fun to watch. He really stepped up, and I thought he impressed at the tournament. So, Haynes, let's swing it back to you. Have you been following Karel at all? And if so, what are your thoughts on the way he's played so far?
I haven't been able to follow his game as much as I'd like to. I definitely, after the praise you gave him, I definitely need to look into him a little bit more. But I had actually last night during the Chirpin Yotes podcast, we had actually hit on the topic of goaltending. And, one of the guys I had kind of, we all know, especially now with the departure of Kemper, Ranta, and Hill, that Ivan Prozitov's role as the franchise goalie is getting closer and closer with all those three guys being gone. So, my focus last night was really to who takes that second spot in the AHL behind either Kachina or behind Prozatov. And one of the guys I thought was really good, who I think probably could see action this year in the AHL, if not the ECHL, was Dave Tindek. I think he's looked really good in the last 2 years, and for the Vancouver Giants in the WHL. And I think he's someone who this year is, I think, ready to make the jump over to the AHL, if not definitely the ECHL with the Rapid City Rush. So he's definitely someone I've kind of been keeping my eye on for a while now. I definitely could see him maybe backing up either one of the two in Kachina or Prozatov this year.
Makes sense. I'm with you there, Haynes. Jordan, bring us home on this topic. Have you followed him at all, or what are your thoughts on the Coyotes goaltending situation overall?
Well, Patrick, I actually have kind of been following his career a little bit. I mean, over playing with Kometa in the Czech League, he's consistently gotten better each year, because back in 2016, he played in the World Juniors, and that Czech team wasn't a good team, if I'm being honest with you. He got kind of shelled there. He didn't look good, but the team around him also didn't look good. And he really took that experience, I think, and really consistently got better over the next 5 years. So he's an intriguing guy to me. I mean, I'm always of the opinion when you're evaluating prospects, especially goaltenders, you can't really know too much until they're at the professional level, because goalies, as we all know, are voodoo. They can just go from starter to backup overnight and vice versa. So for Vajmelka, I'll just say, I don't know. I think he has a better chance at least being an NHL goaltender than the average prospect.
Makes sense. All good perspective, guys. Appreciate it. And we'll keep our eyes peeled. We'll see how it goes, because it is going to be an interesting year between the pipes, to say the least. So, all right, we talked about the kids. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about, so today's Wednesday. It was media day officially. Training camp kicks off. Players are going to hit the ice tomorrow. And spoiler alert, a whole lot of new faces. If you haven't been paying attention to anything this offseason, Bill Armstrong has been a very busy man, and quite a lot of old faces shipped out, new faces coming in. And let me just tell you my observations from media day today. A whole lot of talk about we're going to come out and we're going to surprise people. Craig Morgan was adamant and very correct in that the front office has been open with the fact that, look, it's a rebuild. This is a rebuild. Everybody knows it. We're not trying to hide it. And there's still a lot of sentiment around the club right now, and it's early with a new coach, with Torini coming in and everything else. The sentiment is, let's come in and surprise people. They're working hard. They're still getting to know each other a little bit, and they're hitting the ice for training camp tomorrow. So Haynes, let's start with you. Your expectations for the season. What do you think we're going to see out of this club, and is it going to be painful?
That's a fully loaded question there. I mean,
that's what I do.
It definitely is. I do agree. I think, this team does have the ability this year to surprise a lot of people. I mean, is it going to be rough? Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to be a really rough season. Is it going to be rough the next few years? Yeah. But this is the first true rebuild the Coyotes fully seem invested in and really bettering themselves for the future instead of, their occasional, oh, we're going to rebuild for a year and they'll give us success, maybe a playoff appearance like 1 out of 3 years, but get us close in the race for those 3 years, and then we'll rebuild again. So I think this is like the first true rebuild in which you're going to see the Coyotes really clean house, start over with these new guys. They're going with this young core, guys like Chikrin, guys like Keller. I mean, Fisher. You have all these young guys, but no, I think some of these guys they brought in really I am intrigued for. Ryan Dzingel, I thought was a great signing. I think Dzingel could have a really big bounce back year. And I think that I know we'll talk about him later, but Galchenyuk getting on a professional tryout, I think he definitely has a shot of coming back to Arizona this year. I couldn't see why not, especially if this team's playing to tank this season. You would think that he would have all the opportunity like anybody else to make the roster. So I think there's definitely gonna be some games we watch and we're gonna think to ourselves, wow, like the occasional 6-2 being of Tampa Bay. Like you're going to look at that and go, wow, I can't believe the Coyotes did that. Like, I can't believe they just beat the best of the best. But there's going to be games where it's, Colorado is going to look miserable when Darcy Kemper's on the other side of the ice, absolutely punishing us. That's going to look miserable on it. Those are those games that I know we'll all be sitting around with probably extra drinks with us just to try to probably forget what happened during
double
that
fisting.
Game. Yeah, probably definitely forget that game. But, I think there's definitely room for optimism, despite the fact that this year is going to be such a tough one with probably bits of surprises along the way. And I understand for the most part, a lot of fans aren't excited about, Devo being moved and other guys being moved, but you have to understand this organization wants to win. You're not going to win if you keep rebuilding every 1 or 2 years. You need to start rebuilding now, get a full rebuild in, build around your core. Armstrong's done an amazing job in what he's been able to do, bringing picks in to recoup for what Chaika lost. And, I think there's going to be surprises, but, overall, I think it is going to be a painful season, and it's probably going to be painful the next 2 years. But, hey, if we can at least get either Shane Wright or Connor Bedard out of this, I mean, I call that a win-win. If as long as we can maybe win at least one draft lottery finally and not get screwed to the third pick for, the Edmonton Oilers. God forbid they win one again.
Man, I do some work on our sister show, the Hockey Writers Grind Line, and it seems like whatever show I'm on, we're complaining about the draft lottery not working in our favor. So I certainly can echo that.
I can't relate to that, guys.
Well, we'll have an interesting discussion a little bit later on in the show about what the Sabres and the Coyotes may be up against each other. But before we get that, let's not put the cart ahead of the horse. Jordan, what is your perspective on what you would expect out of the Coyotes this season?
Yeah, of course, guys. I know they cleaned house this past offseason. They have like just an insane amount of 1-year contracts, but it also means they have a ton of guys looking to prove themselves ahead of their contract seasons. What's most fascinates me is their goaltending situation because their projected starting goaltender, at least, I don't know if it's going to be Coronar or if it's going to be Carter Hutton, the former Buffalo Sabre. I mean, I've watched him a lot these past few years, and he did struggle a lot ever after getting signed, from St. Louis. He got injured even this past season. Julien Gauthier drove to the net and wrist the lane and just pushed him in there. And he was never really the same, but I'm rooting for the guy because I would like to see him bounce back. I think a change of scenery is going to do wonders for him, even just going back to that Western Conference. I think he's will be a little bit more, his play style will be a little bit more suitable there. I think he's a little bit more comfortable in the West. And overall, I'm just excited to see what's going to happen with that team. I wonder if a guy like Barrett Hayton cracks the lineup full time. That's a guy I've always been intrigued by ever since he was drafted. Like, I like the player. I mean, I liked how he played in Team Canada, and then the OHL was Sault Ste. Marie. So I think he's a good player. And Jacob Chikrin as well is a guy I've always loved, in terms of a defenseman. I think he's going to be on Team Canada's blue line at the Winter Olympics. And I think your team is very underrated. And I know there's been some issues, off-ice issues, but I think there's a common goal here. There's an actual plan here in Arizona. So I think heading into the season, it's going to be a bit more fun than it was in years past.
Yeah, and interesting notes about Chikrin. Still not sure if they're going to name a captain this year, but if they do, I think he's hands down the guy, or at least the front runner. That would be my opinion. That may be a topic for another show, but the reason I bring that up too is because Haynes, you brought up Dvorak moving, and fans were understandably upset about that. So were the players. So was Chikrin. That is a tough part of the business. And, they let their feelings be known today at Media Day that it's something that is tough, but it's a business. You got to move on. You welcome the new players. They're excited about some of the veteran leadership they have coming in, like Gostisbehere, who has a lot to prove because things have not been going the way he would have hoped as of late. So it's an interesting mix. We'll see how it works out, but it's going to be exciting to say the least. So good stuff, guys. Really good perspective there. And Haynes, you really teed it up for me here. Let's talk about Alex Galchenyuk because it just came out, a day or two ago. He got his professional tryout with the Coyotes. Just quick hits, some stats. Last year, 12 points in 26 games with Toronto. With the Coyotes in 2018, 2019, 41 points in 72 games, including 19 goals. We'll ignore that minus 19 and not one of my plus minus, not one of my favorite stats in hockey anyways, but there is something to it and we'll just look the other way on that, but he's got a shot. He's looking for a tryout. Players around the league have gotten those professional tryouts, Bobby Ryan in Detroit, for example, and things like that. So it gives them the opportunity to crack the lineup. How do you think that's going to go? What did you think when you first heard that news? And Haynes, we'll start with you.
I was excited. I will come out and say I was excited, but at the same time, I think there's an ultimatum out of this. Galchenyuk, since leaving originally from Montreal when he came over to Arizona, has bounced around quite a bit in the last few years in the NHL. And you got to think for Galchenyuk, if he doesn't make it here with Arizona, what's his next move?
Yeah.
You can't think there's probably many other options for him right now outside of Arizona. So if he can't get a contract during the tryouts right now from his professional tryout, what's his next step here? I mean, we're looking at a guy who showed early flashes in Montreal that he could be a guy, struggled, came to Arizona, played a year, reinvented himself, looked like he could be a good guy, could maybe be a 45 to 50 point scorer a season if he wanted to be.
Yeah.
Got moved to Pittsburgh. No one heard of him, was dropped early, went off to Minnesota, didn't hear much from him there. Then, just kept going and going and going and going. And, I think for him, he probably was over thrilled to probably hear Arizona call him and say, we want to bring you in. Because he's probably looking at it as in, I just had a really good, decent year for Toronto. I was really big part of that playoff push in the first round against Montreal. And he's probably looking at it as, I really had one of my better seasons in the last couple years with Arizona. Can this be an even better chance for me now, knowing that they have lost so many guys and they're just at this point, they're going for a tank kind of setting, they're set on a tank and all that. He's probably looking at it as in, I really have a real chance to come in here and be one of the top guys on this team, like one of the bright spots for a team going forward, even if it's like on a year contract. So I was initially excited. I would love to have Galchenyuk back. I brought it up last night. I don't know if any of y'all ever watched the home tripping with Biz on the Coyotes YouTube channel. He went and visit some of the homes. Galchenyuk had the Coyote Howl as his doorbell ring when he rang his doorbell, and I loved it. And I really hope he buys that house back and gets that thing set back up if he gets a contract in Arizona. But I really do like him. He's a nice guy. I hear a lot him talk about it, and he's really grateful for the chances he gets. So, I wish him the best. I would love to see him bat, but, at the same time, if he comes in and has a bad year, is it really anything on us? No. I mean, if we sign to a small 1 year and he doesn't have the greatest year, not really going to hurt us considering, we're probably not going to have a lot of guys this year who are probably going to be really good.
Yeah, this PTO really is a no risk for the Coyotes whatsoever. And you're right, Galchenyuk has a lot to prove. So, Jordan, your thoughts on the proverbial NHL journeyman?
Well, for anybody listening to this, I got to tell you, I do have a few Leafs posters in the background here. I watch every Leafs game on top of the Sabres. So I watched a lot of Alex Galchenyuk this past year. And this is what I got to say. The Galchenyuk you saw in Arizona a couple of years ago is going to be a completely different Alex Galchenyuk today, because he was thrusted into a similar situation when he was traded from Carolina to Toronto. He had to play for his career, and luckily he did get the chance to play next to John Tavares, but that was after he was sent down to the Toronto Marlies, and he had to dominate at the AHL level again. That was the first time he even played at the AHL level in his whole career. He was amazing there. And they ultimately it earned him a spot on the NHL roster. And I was so impressed by his work ethic, his tenacity with the puck. And he was making those skilled plays. There's a specific play, even in the playoffs, where he did it behind the legs, spinorama pass to William Nylander, game 4. Was just terrific. But the problem with Galchenyuk, and you can just see it through the micro stats, as he's 14th in the 14th percentile in terms of his even strength defense in the last 3 years among all NHL players. He's not very good there. And even in the playoffs, you saw with that wraparound pass in game 5 overtime that ultimately led to that Cole Caulfield overtime winner. He can just make some boneheaded plays at times. But in terms of what he did bring to the Leafs, I wanted them to keep him because I thought he was a really good fit there. And he was even decent on the bottom 6. And with Arizona, there's so many positions there. And with a guy like this playing for his NHL career, nonetheless, I think he's going to thrive there. And ultimately, I mean, even the last time he was there, he put up 41 points. If he does anything close to that and he gets signed to league minimum, that's a huge win, especially if they can even just trade him at the deadline, get an asset back in this rebuild. That's what you're aiming to go for, right?
If he puts up 41 points this year with the Coyotes, that is one of the best investments they will have made this year, hands down. I cannot picture him right now as a 40-point producer, but if he does, like to your point, like he did the last time, that's a win. That's a big win right there. So good stuff. Let's take a quick timeout. Want to remind you guys watching at home, please toss us a like, hit subscribe. Be sure to leave your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching our show, especially our first ever show. Make sure you check out other shows on the Hockey Writers Network. We got Sabres Scoop. We've got the Hockey Writers Grind Line, Chicks and Sticks, What's Crackin', Blackhawks Banter. The list just goes on and on and on. Follow us on Twitter. Shoot us a comment down below and we'll respond. We'll correspond throughout the week and even probably talk about it on our next episode. We're on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Check us out there as well. And again, thanks for watching. Means a lot to us. Looking forward to seeing how the show grows. And looking forward to just continuing to bring you the best hockey coverage around. So, all right. Our bills are paid for the first time. We live to see another week, hopefully. So let's move on to the back half of the show here. And the first thing that I want to talk about is actually probably one of the more entertaining and exciting storylines of the season. The Coyotes have rebranded, and they rebranded to something that fans have been clamoring for a very long time. The reverse retro kind of drummed up memories of it last year. They brought back their white Kachina jerseys, which is just, in my opinion, so exciting. I realize I'm the oldest one here by far. It takes me back to the days of watching Roenick and Kachuk in those white Kachina jerseys. Super exciting. They're also very clearly going to have a more prominent role in the community. So that's another thing that they're making sure that they're focusing on, giving back. And it just seems to be like an all-out kind of blitz right now in terms of trying to rebrand themselves. Let's talk about the jerseys, because I haven't met anybody yet who's upset about it. Interested to hear your thoughts. Haynes, let's start with you. The white Kachinas are back. What do you think?
I love it. And, I'm going to relate back again to last night from the podcast I did on the Chirping Yotes podcast, which I do every Tuesday. We talked about this and, and I'm just going to kind of go back off what I said last night. And this was the perfect move to make right now, considering the team is rebuilding and they're trying to, bring in this younger crowd, this younger generation of hockey fans. And what better way to connect these young kids in Arizona who are getting into hockey than by bringing back a logo and a uniform that not only looks cool and is so unique and different, but it screams Arizona. Yes. Every part of that uniform, every part of that logo screams Southwest Arizona in it. It's all got all the elements in it. The logo has the hidden elements. The actual logo itself is in the shape of an A. I mean, the little crescent moon's the C. Yep. I mean, they perfectly have that logo set to represent what is Arizona's all made of. And to bring it back now, knowing you're going in a whole new direction, trying to bring this new youth in, but also reconnecting to the older generations that grew up on this logo is such a smart move. I mean, it's such a great move. We've been calling for this logo for years to come back. We've been calling for those logos to come back and the jerseys, and to see it now, I mean, I've already put my name down on the pre-order list, so I'm waiting for those things to go on sale. I'll be the first one to buy one. I mean, I absolutely love it. I can't talk any higher about it. I'm looking forward to NHL 22. I mean, the
Heck
team's
yeah.
not going to be the greatest to play as a season as, but man, am I going to look cool on the ice rocking the Kachinas for every game. So I'm extremely excited, and I know fans are happy that they're keeping the original home jersey as an alt for 8 games this year, because I know a couple fans out there aren't the biggest fan of the Kachina and prefer the Howling Coyote more. So I know that those fans at least hopefully will get their fill of having that jersey around at least for 8 home games this year. But I love it.
Yep. I will say, if you're not a fan of the Kachina jersey, you're wrong. But
Good man.
but Haynes, you made another really good point. The added revenue from jersey sales this year certainly isn't going to hurt anything. That's for sure. So Jordan, your thoughts on the Kachina jersey, and what has, like, how do you take that? What do you think about that?
Well, Haynes, the Coyotes got to hire you in the marketing department, because you're convincing me to get a Kachina jersey tonight. Because, and I mean, how can you not? This is like the best logo in the NHL, hands down. And even the Buffalo Sabres last year changed.
We're going to get some comments about that.
And it was just amazing as well. I mean, I think both of our franchises that we cover are doing very great there. But the way they're rebranding in total reminds me of how the Charlotte Bobcats back in the day, I'm making an NBA comparable here. They readopted the Hornets moniker back in 2014 that they had 15 years prior. And that spike that they got from doing the whole rebrand in total, getting their mascot to go door to door and all that, which I'm sure the Arizona franchise is just about to do here. I mean, that they rose in the attendance from 25th to 19th, which might not seem like a lot, but that's definitely a steep incline in terms of exponential growth. And it's just incredible what they're doing there. I think you're going to see an increase in attendance, which they obviously need. You know, they're trying to, after everything that's happened, they want to see that. And this rebrand is definitely reminding me of that. And yeah, I mean, I love the logo. I love everything about it. So I can't wait. I might have to get a jersey, man.
Oh, love it. I think we all will. I'm definitely gonna be purchasing one of those when I can, for sure. So speaking of, Jordan, you were talking about fan attendance increasing. Well, if that happens in Arizona, where are the fans gonna go? Because that's up in the air, and it just seems like it's Groundhog Day sometimes as you start talking about where the Coyotes gonna play. For anybody who's been living under a rock for all off season, the city of Glendale has basically terminated the lease agreement between the Coyotes and Gila River Arena, meaning the Coyotes have no home after this year. There are a lot of options out there, even locally here in Phoenix. You know, there's Veterans Memorial Coliseum. There's what is it, Footprint Center, where the Suns play. There's a lot of different options. So short term, that's unknown. We're not going to know that for a little bit. Long term, there have been some interesting developments. So the Coyotes recently responded to an RFP to the city of Tempe to redevelop, I believe it's a 48-acre plot, and they submitted a bid for well over $1 billion, basically, mostly privately funded, to develop an arena district, an entertainment district. There's housing proposed and things like that. And it's exciting. Now, Coyotes fans can't be blamed if they say, yeah, right. Because we've seen this before, right? There was a deal with Tempe a few years ago where it was supposed to be with ASU. That fell through. A couple years before that, I believe there was a potential deal on tribal land out here. That fell through. And you see these things fall through, and then you start hearing the murmurs about Houston, about Quebec City, and really any other city in between. The hockey writers, somebody wrote an article about going to Portland, I think. So everybody's clamoring for an NHL team apparently these days. And it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle since the Coyotes started here in 1996. You know, I'm going to pass the torch. I might finish with some additional comments as well, because some new stuff has even come out today about this. But I'm curious, Haynes, your thoughts on the arena proposal in Tempe. Is this for real? Are they going to get it done?
I want to start by saying, for all the people out there that, the Coyotes, we've been hearing this for years about the Coyotes need to move. Quick, not coming at anybody, but just quick things I want to say about that is, one, I generally believe if the Coyotes were going to move, they would have done it by now. They've been here for 25 years, going on 26 this season, and they have yet to move. There was the 2015 scare originally that the team maybe was about to be sold and moved. But not only that, but we also can all agree here that as long as Gary Bettman is commissioner of the league, Arizona is not going to leave Arizona.
Sure.
He believes hockey works in that market. The Morello and Gutierrez believe hockey works in Arizona, and they are not going to stop at anything to prove that. And that's exactly what that arena deal does right there. Morello is going out right up in front, going straight to the city of Tempe and saying, hey, if y'all pay the $200 million to, inspect the land, clear off the debris, clean it up, maybe put some roads in, we will add $1.7 billion of our own money, privately funded, to build an arena there. You have to be thinking Tempe's looking at this just mouths watering, knowing the Coyotes are literally saying we will outright pay for it. Not only does the renderings look amazing in the rendering drawings I've seen, but that just shows Morello's commitment. So many people, Morello's losing money. He's going to sell this team because he's going to lose it. He's just been approved for sports betting.
Yep.
Why would he pass up on that?
Huge.
Exactly. Not only that, but anybody who's looking to move the team would not propose $1.7 billion of his own money to privately fund an arena.
Yep.
And essentially the joke we made last night was, instead of the Westgate district, this is essentially the Eastgate district.
And closer to the fan base.
Exactly. This is essentially what you're seeing in Glendale, but way closer to your fans.
Yep.
And the fact that he wants to add all this in just shows his commitment to Arizona. It shows that, the city of Tempe in Arizona has been talking for quite a couple of years now.
Yes.
This has been reported that they've been talking back and forth for a couple of years. The Coyotes were the only team to submit a proposal.
Right.
Everything looks to be clicking. I don't want to get fans' hopes up. I don't want to get my own hopes up. But I think everything's moving in the right direction. I really don't see any way this could backfire on us, especially being the only people to submit a proposal, and then top that by going, we'll even add $1.7 billion of our own money to build the arena, and y'all only have to pay $200 million just to clear the land.
Yep. And a couple of points on top of that before we go to Jordan. Number one, the Coyotes this offseason have been incredibly active in the community. It's been impressive. They've got a number of initiatives for Hispanic Heritage Month coming up, and they're gonna honor Hispanic businesses throughout the year, every month. So they've been very active within the community. I don't think you get that involved and inject yourself in the community if you're planning on leaving. And another thing, Morello owns a construction company and a general contracting company that's going to do the work. He's basically going to pay himself to develop the land once the cleanup is complete. So again, I realize it doesn't totally work like that, but at the same time, it's going to be his company that's doing the work. So exactly. It makes sense. But Jordan, especially having watched drama unfold in Arizona for years, I don't know if you saw the arena proposal in Tempe. Some renderings were just released yesterday or the day before. Your thoughts on this deal, and can Arizona actually finally find a permanent home?
Well, Patrick, I think Arizona can find a permanent home, and I think this type of issue has been going around with other teams in the NHL, such as the Ottawa Senators, who play in Canada, which is just so far away from their downtown area. And this arena proposal, the 46 acre that has all the restaurants, has the apartments, everything in it, would be right there by downtown. So then you have that younger demographic attending your games. And guess what? You're going to get more fans in the stands that way. So I think Arizona is going to work there. And as you guys mentioned before, and this is a huge point, Gary Bettman's not moving the Arizona Coyotes. That's not going to happen under his tenure. I would be so shocked. I think it would have happened by now, seriously. I'm pretty sure they want to go to Houston at some point in the near future. There could have been an opportunity to do that in the past, but he passed it up because he really believes in Arizona. And I really hope it does work out there. Look at the role it had on a player like Austin Matthews growing up.
Absolutely.
Getting to watch a guy like Danny Briere, who he said was one of his favorite players growing up. That if the Coyotes aren't there, who knows if he even makes it to the NHL because he doesn't have that influence, right?
Yep.
So I think it's very pivotal to have a team in Arizona, and I think it can work over the long term. It just has to be done right.
Yep. So
I'd like to add real fast, if you don't mind. Not only that, but the Kachucks. I mean, if they grew up watching their dad play in Arizona, I mean, that had to be a big part of them, getting into the sport. I mean, yes, they saw their dad play in a lot of areas, but they were kids at the time he was playing in Arizona. That had a big tie to them too. But I agree with you. And you also were saying there at the end, you were talking about, I can't remember. My memory is terrible. You were saying something. What were you saying at the end towards when you were talking? I had something in my head, and then it popped away out of my mind for like a brief second. And I jumped to the whole thing about the Kachucks.
Well, basically, like how it could work there, like having like having them, that influence for a guy like Matthews to have it actually work, for if they're not there, basically, Matthews probably isn't an NHL player, and you could probably apply that. I mean, the Kachucks did have their dad, so I mean, I don't know if you could apply the exact same argument, but yeah.
Well, hey,
I think it's just
I can throw one out though. Josh Doan, playing for Arizona State, right?
Yep.
So yeah, he was drafted by the Coyotes, but if his dad's playing anywhere, he's probably into hockey, right? But the fact that he's here playing for Arizona State, so that even has an impact on the local college hockey scene that you see here. So, Haynes, did it come back to you or no?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
That was great though, what you said about Arizona State. I think the fact real quick that they have a Division I team is so big for hockey.
And they're
growth.
good. They're good.
Yeah. And not only that, but the girls, the Kachina's girls team, they're insanely good. I mean, the growth of women's hockey and hockey in general in Arizona is not talked about enough because people are afraid to admit hockey can work in Arizona, and it has been working and growing for the last 5+ years.
Yep.
But what I want to add, because I did remember it, was what you had said about Houston. And does the NHL probably want to go to Houston one day? Yes. Is it going to be through relocation? No, it will probably be through an expansion, most likely, unless it gets to the point where one NHL franchise is very, very, very deep down the gutter and can't support where they have it. Then I might see a move. But not only that, but the city of Houston, especially the governor the president that owns the arena where the Rockets play at, that's where they were saying that they would have the Houston Hockey play at. He has publicly stated and has been reported saying that he does not want to share an arena with a hockey team in Houston. So unless Houston builds a hockey arena, where are you going to house a hockey team? You had a hockey team in the Arrows and they left. If you couldn't support minor league, what makes you think major league, especially with the NHL, is going to work out?
Yep. And I think Houston came up big because obviously with the Coyotes moved to the Central, it almost felt that way, right? It felt like they were gravitating towards moving to potentially the Central time zone or something like that. But I think you bring up great points. I do want to throw a few wrenches in the arguments really quick, just to be a realist. So it actually just came out today. In fact, Arizona Republic reported it, and it makes sense because they actually scooped with the proposal in general, the renderings yesterday. So the proposed arena is about 10,000 feet from two major runways at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport.
I've seen this.
And it presents a problem. Back when the Arizona Cardinals were looking to build the stadium, they ended up nixing a site very close to where this is proposed for that exact reason. The residential area that's proposed in that, I believe the tallest building was 140 feet. It could only be 100 feet max if it's even suitable to have residential people there. Because again, you're talking not even 2 miles away from what is apparently the two busiest runways at a very, very, very busy airport in Phoenix Sky Harbor. So that's just something to keep in mind. Again, the story itself says the FAA is saying, we're not saying no, we just want to know more. And it's very early in the planning, but there are some major obstacles here, not to mention the Coyotes need to find a place to play because the earliest they said anything would open would be 2025. So with this being their last year at Gila River, potentially. I personally think they're just going to come to an agreement again with Glendale when it's all said and done.
Here.
That's what I think. But there's other options. But either way, they got to find a place to play. The last thing that I have to say about this is about the renderings, because my God, do the renderings look amazing. But just be careful with how excited you get on that, because I remember when the Red Wings were building Little Caesars Arena, and one of the renderings just had this beautiful like LED Red Wing logo on top, and yet now it's a pizza logo. So you always got to. It is delicious pizza, but you always got to be careful with those renderings. Take them with a grain of salt. But honestly, good stuff, exciting stuff. Selfishly, being a credentialed reporter with them this is my first year as a credentialed reporter with them. I sure hope they don't go anywhere. And I think there's a really good case for them to stay for all the points you guys made. So well done. Good discussion. All right, let's bring our show to a close. Let's have a little fun. Jordan, we've got you on here. Can't wait to check out the next Sabres Scoop. We have, being a realist, I love the optimism we've had today, but let's be a realist for a minute here. We probably have arguably the two worst teams in the league represented on this show right now. There's an argument to be made for others as well, but for the sake of argument, let's say the Coyotes and the Sabres may be battling for the best odds in that NHL draft lottery. Who do you think, when it's all said and done, ends up finishing in the basement? And Jordan, I actually want to get your perspective on this one first.
See, that's a very intriguing question you proposed to me there, Patrick, because I honestly don't know. The Sabres team, I just got released an article today projecting their forward line. So a guy like Casey Middlestad is now likely going to be their first line center, unless they throw Dylan Cousins in there. And there's so many options on that line. You could see a rookie like JJ Peterka step up and be a third line player for them. And I'm very high on him as well. Played great in the DEL. And of course, we saw him play with Tim Stützle at Team Germany just last year at the World Juniors. So you can impose some of that youth in there. But man, have you seen their goaltending situation? Because I know we kind of laughed a little bit about the Coyotes. Well, we have Craig Anderson, who was supposed to retire last offseason, literally reported that he was retiring, coming back because I guess he saw the opportunity. And then, I don't even know. I mean, a guy like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who is a young guy, he does have a chance to steal a role, but I don't know if he's necessarily ready for that yet. I mean, even a guy like Dustin Tokarski, who just randomly appears every 3 or 5 years. I mean, he did appear last year, so this would be his second straight year appearing in the NHL. But he even has a shot. So there's just so many wild cards there. This Jack Eichel situation, guys, is still not fixed yet, and it's going to get even worse, it sounds like, because Elliot Friedman's been reporting that the captaincy is likely going to get stripped from him. He did fail his physical today. The surgery still has yet to be completed, and that's obviously going to hamper any trades that could happen there. So I mean, and looking at my eyes, unless all of these players outperform what they're expected to, it's hard for me to think that Buffalo isn't going to finish last. But I mean, who knows? I mean, it's going to be an intriguing battle there. I have a tough time believing that they're going to get the first overall pick again, just because of these new draft lottery odds that have been implemented this year as well. I just don't believe that would happen. I kind of get the sense it's probably going to be Arizona's year, even if they don't finish last. But it's going to be a fun battle to watch, right, guys?
I like where your head's at, Jordan. I like where your head's at there. Haynes, your thought on the battle for the basement. What do we have this year? It's not Lose for Hughes. Is there a moniker yet?
We'll figure one.
We'll come up with one. Sorry, Haynes, your thoughts.
No, Jordan, I want to start off. You forgot to mention possibly the quite the nicest set of pads to ever grace any NHL team. Aaron Dell is on y'all's team this year, and he goes all out with the coolest setups and gear. So you got to mention Aaron Dell. Probably won't do much. No offense to Aaron Dell, but I know him more for his gear than I do his play. Hey. That says a lot. But I think it is really going to be a toss-up. I mean, look at the Coyotes one line, and right now you're looking at Jay Beagle, Antoine Roussel, and Louis Eriksson. And unless Louis Eriksson recaptures what he had in Boston, I don't think Louis Eriksson, Jay Beagle, and Antoine Roussel are lighting the league up for like a combined 50, 60 points in a season. So no, it's them as a line, but I don't think they're lining anybody up this year in the league. But I think it is a really, really intriguing season. I mean, I think the Sabres have the Coyotes beat in the goaltending area, especially if especially if y'all's rookie. I'm not even gonna pronounce the name because I'm gonna butcher it, and I don't want to do any disrespect to him. But if y'all's rookie goalie, you were saying if he can make the jump this year, I think he could be a big part of y'all's team, especially losing Linus Ullmark. And other than that, I think I would say they're kind of balanced. Y'all's defense is a little bit younger than ours, but I mean, nevertheless, I definitely think fans are going to be pulling for their own team to lose. When that game rolls around, I definitely think fans are going to be pulling for their own team to lose as bad as they can. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens.
What was it? Actually, Craig Morgan was talking. This was a couple weeks ago, but there was a game in Buffalo a few years ago where they were clamoring for it was the worst two teams playing. And when one team scored, when the away team scored, the home team cheered because they wanted the better odds. So you never know how it's going to shake out. Look, if we go based off of what the players were saying at Media Day today, they're going to surprise everybody and be a fringe playoff team. But if you're going to be a realist about it, these are going to be the two teams that are probably battling it out for the highest odds in the NHL draft. Personally, and it's I think a coin flip, but I do think the Coyotes finish ahead of the Sabres, maybe not by much, but the Coyotes do have a lot of veteran leadership coming in that some of those guys who've been there before, who know what it takes to win in the NHL, and they've got that presence coming in. I think that's going to get them an extra win or two at the end of the day, but it's anybody's guess. And maybe they do come out and surprise everybody. And that would be great. We would love to be along for the ride, but you know what? We're along for the ride no matter what. We're certainly glad you at home are as well, and hope you continue to join us throughout the season. That's our show. So Jordan, definitely want to thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of history. The first ever Howlers and Growlers.
The first time in Vegas Golden Knights history.
That's a hell of a way to finish the show. Haynes been looking forward to this for a long time. Thanks for joining us. Looking forward to future episodes. And Jordan, you are welcome back. We will keep a locker stall open for you anytime. And you at home, we can't thank you enough. Make sure you give us a like, subscribe to the Hockey Writers channel, follow us on Twitter, follow Jordan on Twitter, check out Sabres Scoop, and most importantly, we will see you next week. Thanks for joining.